neighborhood Spider-Man.
And just like that, the Watching Comics podcast has made another appearance in your ears, if that's a socially acceptable thing for me to say.
I think it is. I mean, I'll allow it.
Okay, good deal. Well, if you'll allow it, then it should be fine for everybody else, because Jake is clearly the barometer of the masses.
That's, I'm a tastemaker. What can I say?
For sure. So welcome to the Watching Comics podcast. My name is Mitch, and my co-host Jake is arguably the coolest guy who also happens to be a nerd that you'll ever hear through your earbuds. So there's that.
Yes, it arguably is definitely the operative word there.
Anyway, we are gearing up for Avengers Infinity War because this is a podcast about comic book inspired things that come to your screen. And I don't know if you have noticed, listeners, but there's a movie coming out, and it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it only took us, 10 years to get to it. We've been getting it teased to us for ages.
Literally 10 years, and Robert Downey Jr.'s starring in 7 movies and guest starring in 14 other movies in order to make this happen. And it's coming. It's going to happen. So naturally, right before we do into that, this actually coincides with Infinity War a little bit. The reason we have a Venom trailer here for everybody to see online and everything is because it was leaked through people pirating footage of it while they saw the first footage of this Venom trailer at the Los Angeles premiere of Avengers Infinity War. So Sony just went ahead and made the statement that they were just going to release the thing because it was starting to go viral already with the crappy footage of it. So we might as well just upload the thing so people can watch it on YouTube in their high def abilities rather than cell phone shot footage. And so here we are. Jake and I are ready to give you a short and sweet episode on all things Venom trailer.
Yeah, was it, I mean this half jokingly, but half serious. Was it Mark Ruffalo this time that leaked this? Because remember, with Thor Ragnarok, he forgot to turn his phone off when he'd been live, doing a live broadcast or something. People got to watch the first 10 minutes of Thor Ragnarok on his phone.
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually didn't do enough investigative journalism on the Twitters
I'm sure it wasn't him, but it's him and Tom Holland that apparently they can't tell anything to because they keep ruining stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And they were both there, so chances are likely that it could have been. But yeah, I remember. So it was late the other night, and I wasn't asleep yet, and I was just kind of scrolling through my phone, and some cell phone footage of the trailer had popped up in my Twitter feed. So clearly someone who I follow had either liked or retweeted something. And it just kind of snowballed from there. And over the course of the next 2 hours, it just was massive. But obviously, the trailer's on YouTube. Sony's released it. It's not a big deal. And we're a couple days removed from it now. So it's kind of like yesterday's news. But for a good 12 to 20 ish hours, Venom was the #1 trending page on IMDb, which is pretty incredible considering this is the week Infinity War gets dropped. So there's that.
I think it was really smart of Sony, can I just butt in and say, to go ahead and just release the trailer online, because it turned what could have been a weird, because I don't know. I just think you never want people to look at it on the grainy footage, and kudos to them for just saying, all right, cool, it's out. Let's do it right then.
For sure. That's the way to do it. And obviously, I imagine they probably were planning to release it maybe on Monday of next week anyway, after the first full weekend of everyone getting to go see Avengers and then seeing it in theater, and then just kind of be like, okay, then the buzz is there. So they were probably ready to push the button. They just were going to push it a few days later.
Yeah, I think that that was probably definitely the plan. But it's, and we'll hit this in our shorter episode here, or I will anyway, but this is a sort of foresight and intelligent thinking ahead that I've learned to not expect from Sony on these things. So good work, Sony.
Okay. So we're going to dive in. Venom trailer. I want to come in with one. I don't know if this is considered a hot take. Maybe it's a lukewarm take, but I know that it's probably going to ruffle your feathers. So I want to lead off with this. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. Regardless of what you and I think about this trailer, here I am a couple days removed from watching it, and the only thing I can find myself thinking about is I wish so badly that the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man universe still existed so I could see these two things mingle together. There, I said it.
I'm actually kind of with you on that.
Yes!
Because I mean, I've made no secret of my love of Spider-Man Homecoming, that I think it is the best Spider-Man movie just in and of itself. But I also have tried to be fair to the fact that and this is, I guess, my reservation. We'll get into all this, but like, you know, for me, I try to be fair to the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and the fact that Amazing Spider-Man 2 was so crippled by studio meddling that I don't think that it's fair to judge that movie based on what it is, because I just don't feel like the people involved in it got to do it the way they wanted to. Does that make sense? Like,
I completely
we're
agree.
too hard on it.
We are too hard on it. And I'll be honest, okay? I thoroughly enjoy Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2. I think they're good. I think they're fun. And I would take them over the Tobey Spider-Man 10 times out of 10. But that's a separate conversation. I will say that even though I enjoyed 2 a good deal, it clearly has its flaws, but it doesn't take much research to realize that Mark Webb was making number 2 with the full intents and purposes of having a knock it out of the park home run number 3 installment. And clearly halfway through the filming process of 2, they decided 3 wasn't going to happen. And it became a muddled mess, because then they were like, okay, now what do we do with some certain things? And so that I couldn't agree with you more. 2 was a decent to good movie that could have been potentially great had Sony just kind of eased off with their outsiders gloves.
Well, and this is a lesson that it took Marvel a long time to learn, and honestly, some shakeups at the administrative level, changing who called the shots on what. Before, I mean, I would say part of why we've gotten films like Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Man Homecoming having kind of the John Hughes flavor to it, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, these last couple of years of Marvel films, I think a lot of that has to do with certain people at Disney being cut out of the Marvel creative process.
Oh, for sure.
So that they can't come in and say, hey, I know you're really trying to do something with this Ultron guy, but could we get 5 minutes of Thor screaming in water for no reason? And
5 more minutes of Thor with the already bad plot that they've given him
right?
in these arcs already is never a good idea.
Right. Yeah. I think Marvel took a long time to learn that lesson. And I think that Sony, I fear so much that they haven't learned it, because you see Spider-Man 3, which I think we could both agree is just a little bit below getting punched in the throat on the enjoyability scale. That Spider-Man 3, it's legendary now, the way that the studio stepped in and meddled with Sam Raimi's plans. And I think that then they don't learn from that. They get a decent first outing in Amazing Spider-Man. And so for number 2, they say, hey, I know you want to do all of this death of Gwen Stacy, the most important moment in comic book history, but we thought instead you could cram into that commercials for about 3 other movies we want to make, because we would love to get some of that connected universe money. And it's really like Sony I don't think they've learned this lesson yet about not meddling and messing with stuff. Am I off base there?
No, at least that's the flavor that I can't seem to remove where we're at now, which is what brings us to Venom. It's that sense of, okay, now the 2 big pieces of reassuring information that make us all breathe a sigh of relief, at least in this land of unknowing that we are in until the movie comes out in October, are thus. Number one, Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy brings an amazing amount of weight and chops and credibility to the whole arena. And up until now, he has not really said yes to too many eggs. He hasn't failed on a massive level yet because he is very selective about the type of projects that he says yes to, outside of the movie that This Means War. But most everything else has been a pretty solid selection by his part. The other thing is, in the trailer, you'll notice it really early on, it says Sony Pictures, and then it flashes to in association with Marvel Studios.
Yeah.
Those two things I'm hoping will mean that this movie will help. So if Sony is determined to claim a spot at this table of the comic book lore, if they're saying, damn it, we're going to be here anyway, give us our seat and give us our plate. If they're going to do it, that maybe it means they're at least going to be learning from the people that built the table itself. That's what I'm hopeful for.
I think with you, I see in this. So there are three things that I took away as reasons to be hopeful for Venom. And then I got a few reasons to be not hopeful, but
I definitely have a massive thing that really made me irk, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Cause I've got one too. Mine might be sillier than yours. Tom Hardy is the biggest thing in favor to me of this project, because I think Tom Hardy is inspired casting for Eddie Brock. I think that the Tom Hardy, like you said, he really he's not picked many duds, if any. I mean, I haven't seen, what'd you say it was called? This Is War. Or
yeah, something like that. It was some rom-com that he made with, I believe, Reese Witherspoon and Chris Pine, and it just didn't do anything, and it's about as exactly what you would think it would be. But other than that,
like I've seen the movie just from that sentence.
Right. Yeah, it's called a slew of other movies too.
Right. It's called Payday. But I think that so I mean, Tom Hardy has a really good track record. He is a very talented actor. I think that he really gives me a lot of hope for this. Also, the Marvel thing, like you said it really well. I can't do much. The people who built the table. The other thing, and this is so nitpicky, and this is my nerd showing, but they got the freaking look of the character right. And
oh my gosh, yes.
With a character like Venom that is so, you could argue and make a pretty convincing argument. I say this as a Spider-Man fanatic. You could argue that Venom is carried almost entirely by the visual design, that there's not a lot of substance to the character sometimes, but that the visual that McFarlane came up with when he designed that character in the 80s is so insanely awesome that it carries what could be a really flat character. And there's some characters you can tweak the appearance and it's okay. There are some comic book characters, you can take them out of costume, you can change the costume and you're not hurting anything. But Venom is not that character. And at the end of that trailer, when he finally, because by the way, that first trailer where we didn't even see Venom might be like the low point of the year for comic book movies. Because what is the freaking point?
Or the low point of the last 5 years.
Right. Like, why even release that?
The only thing that first trailer accomplished was a whole bunch of bad Twitter feuds and Reddit rants.
Right. That's exactly it. That's like taking there's no such thing as bad publicity way too far. But
yeah, Venom is style over substance, and that's not a knock on it. That's just the way it is. Yeah. And the thing that people have to understand is that it's not like Iron Man and Captain America, where we literally change their look every single time they appear on screen. This doesn't work that way. But I will say with the Venom, with that final reveal at the end of the trailer. Okay, so the trailer drops really, really late at night. I'm laying in bed. My wife's already asleep. And I'm watching the trailer, trying not to be too terribly loud because I can't wait until morning to watch it. So I'm watching the trailer, and then when Venom appears and his face gets overtaken and he sticks out that tongue and he says, "We are Venom," I literally went, "Oh shit!" And my wife popped up and went, is everything all right? And I went, yeah, it's fine. Just go back to sleep.
It's, I mean, and I grew up in the 90s, so as a Spider-Man fan, so I'm completely unashamed to admit that Venom is my favorite Spider-Man villain. And I know that makes me like a knuckle dragging idiot, but I love Venom so much as a villain, as a character.
Some things are cliche for a reason.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
So, I mean, Tom Hardy, Marvel's involved. They got the look right. There's a lot to be potentially excited for here.
What do you make about the Woody Harrelson rumors? He is still he's listed in the cast on the IMDb page. His role is not listed, and the internet is blowing up with Carnage scuttlebutt.
I think it's a fascinating rumor. So one of my fears for this movie is that the evil businessman that Eddie Brock is investigating, one of my fears for the movie is that Venom's going to fight these nameless goons for an hour and 45 minutes. And then in the final scene, that businessman's going to be like, I'll do it myself, and like plunge his hands into a symbiote and turn into Carnage. Woody Harrelson as Cletus Cassidy, however, who is this, like, for anyone who doesn't, well, which, for our listeners who do not know who Carnage is a Venom-like character. It's actually kind of Venom's son in a weird way, that the alien portion bonds with this white trash, redneck, hillbilly, mass murdering psychopath named Cletus Cassidy. And they make this just maniac alien killer named Carnage. And Woody Harrelson in that role would be awesome. And I'm afraid to hope for it.
I know. Like I had the thought before we started recording. I was like, do I even want to say it out loud and give the universe a chance to screw me over? But the short list of people who I would say would be damn near perfect casting for that role if it was written right is indeed a very, very short list, and he sets on it.
Yeah.
But
it would be so good.
I don't want to get us to be paranoid, but I keep coming back to this concept of like, okay, the cast is solid. Riz Ahmed, Woody Harrelson, Jenny Slate, Tom Holland, Tom Hardy, Michelle Williams. Like, it's great. But then I think about The Amazing Spider-Man, which, as much as I enjoy those movies, very, very flawed. Mm-hmm. And those casts were packed as well too. Sony has the deep pockets to attract the big name faces, even if the script is lackluster. So here's where I pivot a little bit to my big glaring thing. I know I have a tendency to go ultra film nerd, and I'm going to try really hard not to do that. But at a certain point, sometimes things are so glaring that it has to be mentioned. And holy crap, is the dialogue horrible in the trailer. It is bad, and it is so matter of fact, and so like I'm just going to blatantly narrate everything so you do not discover anything, and I'm going to say it as much as a cartoony 5-year-old kid can understand. Like, I'm worried a little bit in that, because Michelle Williams and Tom Hardy, I love you. Riz Ahmed, you are amazingly underrated. But is your presence enough to make for the dialogue that is going to say, hey, I'm a reporter and I'm going to question you in public about this really sketchy thing, and I'm going to word it exactly like this. I just don't know. And then the line of, I'm standing in the convenience store and I stare at this woman and I'm going to say, a lot of people know how to hide out in public. Oh, you certainly do not.
That moment. So when I watched the trailer, I woke up, like you saw it late at night. I saw it first thing in the morning, and I woke up and I opened up my phone, just kind of like, I had that wonderful moment where the kids hadn't gotten to me yet. And I was looking at my phone, just kind of like, all right. So I opened up Twitter thinking, I haven't been on it as much lately. What's something I can do related to the podcast, blah, blah, blah. And I saw it and I said, oh, yeah, got to watch this. It looks like they're going to finally show me Venom and redeem themselves. And I actually had to pause the trailer and rewind it at that moment in the convenience store where Tom Hardy confronts Jenny Slate, because it was so awkward. Like, the moment was just so unnatural, awkward, and poorly. Like, it was just a bad moment that it took me out of this trailer so much. I had to rewind to make sure that I heard what I heard.
I'm really worried that they're going to assume the viewers are stupid. And this thing that we kept talking about with why we loved Spider-Man Homecoming so much is that don't tell me, show me.
Yeah.
That's my only big drawback is the dialogue and the way things were constructed. I was like, whoa, guys. Whoa. Can we not pretend like this is the Andy Griffith show for just like 1 minute?
Well, and so this brings me to what my big fear is for this. And the fear, and I've already touched on this, so I'll try not to go ad nauseum about it again, but it's Sony. Because, you know, the dialogue is weird, and there's all these, aside from just what's in the trailer and my fear that there's this like really over the top corporate evil bad guy who's twirling his mustache. On top of all of that, there's also all this talk swirling that they still want to do this connected universe that's sort of Spider-Man, but sort of not. And there's a lot of talk about doing a movie called Silver and Black that would be 2 female Spider-Man supporting characters, Black Cat and Silver Sable, doing like as far as I can tell, like it's had a few different versions, but it looks like it would be maybe kind of a like buddy cop thing. I don't know. And that kind of stuff just concerns me because it keeps screaming at me, we just need to cash that check. And it concerns me that like they're more worried about getting this recognizable character out of the gate to launch this connected universe nobody asked for.
Yeah. And I guess a lot of this will come down to as well, like, will the Venom movie be rated R? That will, because I feel like that was the big crossroads with the Deadpool movie too, right? Where it's like, okay, Fox is giving us a superhero movie that we didn't necessarily ask for, but it was a passion project of Ryan Reynolds, but it's not part of the larger universe, so we don't know what it's going to be like, and we're really worried that they're going to try to make it teenager friendly and everything like that. And then it was rated R, and you realize they really went for Deadpool, and it was great.
Yeah.
This spinoff with Black and Silver and Silver Sable and all that, like, it could be appealing, but that sounds more like the makings of a Netflix series than it does a good buddy cop superhero type movie. But at the same time, like you said, if they just want to cash a check and force their way into a placement at the table, whether it's with kids silverware and a plastic sippy cup, or it's with the wine goblet with the big boys, I don't know. But the big telling thing will be is if Venom gets an R rating. If it gets an R rating, I'm going to be a little bit more hopeful because it is tagged as a horror movie as well as action and sci-fi, which is pretty telling. And we know that this character definitely has R-rated tendencies. Mm-hmm. We definitely know because of Deadpool that R-rated comic book movies do have the stones to swim with the big boys and can still be high quality and still make money. And we also know that in the horror genre, the ones that are rated R more than likely are the ones that are better worth your time. So I don't know. That's still a pretty big question mark, I think.
Yeah, it's just it's a tough movie for me to, because I have a friend at work that asked me yesterday if I'd seen the trailer and how I felt about it. And this is to kind of just put the punctuation on all my thoughts for this. He asked me how I felt, and I said, I don't know how I felt. Because for every moment of the monster coming to life and saying we are Venom, you also have them saying symbiote, which I don't think that's how we say that. That's my biggest complaint. It's been
something I've seen. It's one thing I've seen on Twitter quite a bit. Different couple different mediums, is the debate between symbiote and symbiote.
Yeah, I saw that, and that's I just it's symbiote, guys. You know, I'm just putting it out there. The decision is made.
Give me my Symbi.
But no, in all seriousness though, like for every moment there is to be excited, there's also enough in the back of my mind nagging me about it that this is going to be one where I'm probably going to sit down in the chair in the theater, still not sure what to feel. And I'm just going to have to see the thing to decide.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't think I disagree with you on that. Gosh, the look of Venom is so good.
Good.
And it looks like they got the effects right. And it looks like that they've got just the overall color palette of the film is right there. It really does seem like Ruben Fleischer, he established something that looked cohesive and believable and sinister and wonderful, which I am all here for. The writing is the massive question mark, and the rating of the film is going to dictate an awful lot for me. But obviously if there's probably going to be at least one more trailer released before the October movie drops. So if in that next trailer I don't get a better glimpse of the writing, I see myself in the same position as you, which is like, man, I'm going to sit down in the theater going 50-50 and then crossing my fingers and saying, I really, really hope this doesn't suck.
Yeah, I think that's about it. You know, the writing is going to be huge here, and it's really, you know, it's one of those things. There's not to do the comic book nerd end of it. You know, like I said earlier, and well, you said really well that Venom is more substance or more style than substance. And, you know, when taken away from that feud with Spider-Man, it's a character that really struggles to stand on its own most of the time. There's a few notable exceptions, but I don't know that there's a lot to mine here where like the lore can carry this. So it really, really will come down to the writing and what they can do with it. So we'll see.
Completely. And they definitely can't do more than one Venom film without roping in Spider-Man on a bigger deal. Like if they're going to get traction out of Venom and get Tom Hardy to do more than one movie, which will be like, good luck. I don't know. If that actually happens, there's got to be a showdown with Spider-Man as like the pinnacle of that. Otherwise, why the hell bother, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I need to see the, you know, 9-year-old Jake is still really hurting over Spider-Man 3 and really wants to see a showdown between Venom and Spider-Man done right.
Mm-hmm. That's what you would think with as popular as Spider-Man is, and the bevy of superhero options that we have as far as entertainment is concerned, like just the massive arena we are swimming in right now. You would think that would have happened already, and it just hasn't.
Yeah. Well, and it's, you know, if you ever look down like internationally at the breakdown of what superhero makes the most money overall in merchandise, ticket sales, et cetera, it's like Batman comes in second, but it's not a close second. Spider-Man outsells like the next several superheroes combined. And that's even now. Like the brand recognition on the character is so huge. And I think that at the end of the day, that's why we keep getting these rumors about all these different movies and all these different spinoffs, is because at the end of the day, Sony went and bought the right license. You know, when Marvel was selling these licenses off, Sony got the jackpot, and they got the one that doesn't really matter if you do a good job or not. You're going to make a certain amount of money.
Yep. That's exactly right. They swung for the fences, and they control it right now, which is either really good or really bad. We'll see. But yeah, Venom trailer. I'm assuming everyone that's listening to this has watched it already, but if you haven't, that's what you need to watch.
Yeah, and it's worth watching the trailer. I can't tell you about the movie, but that trailer's good.
Yeah, come October, we'll have more thoughts. Takes will be had.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, this week, Jake and I are going to be headed to Infinity War to see that in all of its glory. We're super stoked for that. And then next week, we will come at you with all of the feedback and necessary reviews and thoughts that you will need to help dictate whether Infinity War was really that good or not, because we should be the final authorities on it, shouldn't we?
Well, I don't think it's just a should be. I think we are. I think this is where the world is coming to, I would imagine, whatever the numbers are, I'd imagine there are some people out there waiting to decide if this movie's for them or not. So we'll try and get that review to you.
That's right, because that's what we do. We're here to serve the people. We're men of the people.
In the world doesn't know if they're going to see Infinity War or not. You either are or you don't know what that is.
I know, right? Well, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe there's one lone soul out there that will hit us up on Twitter and say, "I'm waiting for you guys."
Can I make a prediction before this movie hits? Because I'm afraid that if I say it next week, I won't sound like I'll sound like I'm just grabbing stuff that was already there. Can I make a prediction?
Yes, do it. Secret
Wars is the fourth Avengers movie, and that Infinity War will end with a teaser for the Secret Wars. And I will elaborate next week as much as we need to on what that means. But I want it said here and now. My prediction is that Avengers 4 is Secret Wars.
Keep it secret. Keep it safe. All right. So thank you for listening. Please rate and review us on the iTunes because it's the nice thing to do. It's good form, and we would love you forever. We give you a lifetime supply of high fives.
All of them.
All of them. And that's a lot. Check us out on watchingcomics.com or on Twitter at watchcomicspod, comics with an X. And then check us out on Instagram at Watching Comics Podcast. We want to hear from you because we love you, for those of you who are listening.
Yeah, I got nothing going on. Talk to me.
Rock on, man.
All right.
We'll hit you up next week.
Thanks for listening.